If you find thinking uncomfortable, then consider this. A thought is not an actual thing. It's more of a reaction to a previous thought. So when we experience discomfort with thinking, when we experience uncomfortable thoughts, or that the internal world where thoughts seem to be on an endless parade through our mind, what's really happening is we are reacting to thoughts. We're reacting to thinking. So you could say that the sense of pushing and pulling on thoughts, or pushing and pulling on the thought stuff, or the seeming content of thoughts, is what actually keeps thoughts going. It's like if you were to drop a stone onto the surface of a pond, which causes the water to ripple outward. But that ripple immediately bounces back off of another object and comes toward you again and feels like it's pushing on you. This is the feeling of living in that standing wave of endless thoughts. The thing is, it feels like we are the thoughts. It feels like they're my thoughts, not just thoughts. It feels like I have to react to those thoughts because they're about me. They're important. They're saying something about me, almost like I have to defend myself against my own thoughts. Or like I have to maintain some sort of identity because it seems like those thoughts are defining who I am. None of this is actually true. There's nothing to defend and there's nothing to maintain within the thought world. There's just endless ripples caused by us pushing and pulling on thoughts. So if you can find a way to have a neutral relationship with a thought, one thought, and that always has to happen right now. You can't think about what I'm saying because then the ripples will just continue. It's more like notice the thought that's there right now. Get really close to it. Don't react to it and then run down a stream of thoughts reacting to thought after thought after thought. That's what makes you feel like a thinker. It's what makes you feel like the one suffering from thoughts. Instead, just look at what is this one thought. Is it a narrative thought? It could be about thoughts. It could be about you. It could be about life. It could be about your own suffering, an emotion. It could be about that problem you have that seems to never end. But just notice what it is. It's a single thought. Could be, oh, I still have this problem that, whatever. Now, notice, what is that made out of? What are you taking that information from? It's like if somebody sent you a letter in the mail. If there's no envelope and there's no paper on which the letter is written, how do you know there's a message there? So if you were holding a piece of paper, I would tell you look closer at the paper. In this case, you're not holding a piece of paper. You're paying attention to an internal dialogue, some sort of substance of thinking internally. So look closer at it, just now. Do you notice as you look closer at it, you can't actually figure out what it is by thinking about it? That's good, that's right. Because if the thoughts start to say, well, I don't know, I can't find it, I don't understand, those are just more thoughts. So just let those rest for a few minutes. Come back to this one thought, whatever it is, the one that's here right now. Can you find it? What do you find? You can just stay here looking. Stay in the looking. Stay in the exploration of the nature of thought itself. Do you notice it just starts to blur out into nothing descript, nothing specific, a sort of cloud? You could say it's like a cloud formation. If you look at a cloud formation from 2 miles away, it may look like a dog or a cat or some object in the sky that you can identify. But if you were to get in an airplane and move toward that cloud formation, once you approach it, it's not going to look like anything anymore. And once you're in it, it just looks like haze. There's nothing specific there. That's exactly how thought is in consciousness. So you have to stop reacting to it and look at what it's actually made of. What's actually going on? What is it you're reacting to? And again, If you're thinking about what it is you're reacting to, then that's just more reaction. Instead, just get close to it. Look around for it. Find it. Don't react. This is non-reaction. This is curiosity. Because the initial reaction to thought is a sort of distancing. We have to maintain a sort of distance to keep that standing wave going. And that distance is what makes us feel, when it's chronic, like isolation, separation, self-doubt, all of that. So the way we collapse this standing wave is we stop thinking about everything and we start looking at, in direct experience, what the nature of a thought is. Again, it's like, don't read the message and then start thinking about other messages and then making your own messages. Instead, look at what the message is made out of. How do you know it's there? Find it. Move your attention around in that space in which the message seems to appear. And you might notice it doesn't so much appear. Right? So the habituated tendency to continue to react to thoughts, which we're going to call thinking, is why we never stop to think to do this. Because it has a certain momentum. But you just turn that attention back around. Look at what the thought is made of. Where am I thinking from? What's doing the looking? What's doing the thinking? But this is a direct experiential thing, just like the cloud. Like moving toward the cloud until it's just a blur of air and water droplets that are too small to see. It's sort of like you can feel it. Only with consciousness, it's not like you are floating around in consciousness. You start to feel like you are all of that consciousness. That's the difference. But it's not something to think about. It's something that comes upon you when you really take up this direct investigation of the substance of thinking, the substance of thought, the substance of being aware in the first place. That's the key to this. We could call it self-inquiry, but the sense of self is structured in thought anyway. So, however you approach this, whatever you call it, seeing who or what it is that thought is about. Where are you going to find that? You're going to find it in the seeing. You're going to find it in the sense of being the thinker, the sense of being the one aware of thoughts. So look there. It really does slow everything down. And then you can look even closer. And it slows down more. And it quiets down. And it expands. And it becomes intimate and expansive at the same time. But don't think about that and compare it to your experience, because that's a doubt. So if you notice the doubt arising, then ask yourself, what is it made of? How do I know there's a doubt here? Where can I find that? And just move your attention around in the space of thinking, in the space of being the thinker, in the space of being you. Just keep exploring that way without trying to make thought conclusions. It's a feel thing. When you start detecting less and less edges to things, less beginning and end of a thought, you're on the right track. Keep that way. Don't analyze. Just merge with the entire space of consciousness, the space of being, the space of you, until everything becomes quiet and the movement and looking becomes subtler and subtler.